All right, so I am back. All right, wasn't that long. And so essentially I found a awesome tutorial on Adafruit.com, which was talking about multitasking the Arduino part 1, and it says a clean sweep. And so basically they have written a tutorial on how to do it. And so I will include that down in the comments section down below, and so you can go check that out. And essentially, I started. I copied and pasted it into this here, and so I made this new one here, and I cut out some stuff already on it, and so. Basically, it had LEDs flashing as well as servos, and I'm not really concerned about that. I was just concerned about getting the actual servos to sweep. And so I'll show you this real quick here before we go to the next step. So now you can see that the servos are operating entirely independently. Okay, and that's actually not a bad look. The only thing that I would want to be able to adjust is to adjust how much. Well, one is you want to be able to adjust pretty much on the fly with the Puppet program, is to adjust how much it's sweeping. So right now this is like a full range of motion sweep. And we essentially want to plug in values to say how much you want each one to sweep. So do you want it to sweep from what angle to what other angle, and how long do you want that to take? And if you go to the Adafruit code, I'll go ahead and upload that. For the most part, they have the only value you're sending into it is the interval, right? And so it's basically you send it into, and I believe this is a class. Here. When you you basically make this whole sweeper class, and you're only passing into this sweeper function. You're only passing in the interval, and so. And so when we're down here and you're actually calling, you're starting the sweeper, and you're saying what pin it's attached to down here. I'm sorry, you're creating the sweeper objects here with their increment of how long the interval, and how long it takes for it to move, and then down here you're assigning it to a pin, and then you're just letting these things update on their own over time. Independently. So that's what's happening in the code. I want to be able to take this, and I don't want to pass in just the interval. I want to be able to pass in the minimum and maximum values. But this is happening before, because this is when the object is created. So we can do this and alike, but it won't allow us to change it while we are working on it won't allow us to change this as on the fly. We might as well go through the process of putting that also in there. So interval is what you're passing in there, and you're saying update interval is equal to interval, which is what comes in, and increment is 1. So the interval is being passed in. I'm going to say POS min, POS max, and these are both going to be ints. And so down here, we can then say like 2040. And before we actually going to have them do anything, I want to make sure that this syntax is right. Are you going to work? Oh, compiled. Okay. And so, so this is, we're changing this to be POS max. And this is POS min. Okay. Does that work? No. POS max was not declared in the scope. All right, so the void update. Int POS min int POS max. Gonna work now. Okay, let's see if it works now. I think that's a no. All right. We did not set. Well, here we're setting them like this. This is how we're setting those values. We're sending. This is the min. It comes in POS min. And down here, POS min. POS max, POS max. And this is the interval. That's how the interval is set. Now that's the sweeper. Coming in attach, detach, update. So update doesn't have it. So it runs, but it's not. Oh. We have to assign this to servo position min is equal to POS min. Servo position max is equal to POS max. And then this is down here, because it is calling in this. Basically, to pull these things in and ploop, pop them into these variables here. So this is position minimum. Copy that. Copy this. Paste there. Does that work? No. Update interval. Servo position max. Servo. Int. Servo position min. Servo position max. Now I'm kind of just going through and rolling with this here. Why? These things can come in here and they have to be, I guess, stored as a variable here. Why that can't be just come in and I don't know. So we're just trying to get it to work. Oh, you totally didn't see that. Anyway, I basically added these 4 here. Then I added these 2 into the sweeper. And I took this, made that the minimum. This is the max. And I don't think it did anything anyway. Yeah, it didn't do anything anyway. So all of this, if I hit 180 here, and this goes back to 0, I save that. So you can see it's moving. Okay, so that is working. I'm trying to find an example of like a function or a class here that has multiple inputs and making sure that this is done the right way. Because this is coming in, pos min, and it's setting the servo position minimum, and this sets to position max to servo position maximum. And then down here, they were here and here. And I just changed those back to hard-coded numbers. So this calling it seems to be fine. So last update's position is this plus increment. And the increment is set right here like this. Update interval set here like this, coming in the exact same way. So why then copy that, increment and int, so the maximum there is this. Copy this. That's the position minimum. Let's double check that we have the same name all the way throughout. Moves there and it stops. Right position. That has really got me. Let's take a look at this. Maybe something in the stepper control might have something a little bit more. Stepper, my stepper, revolutions, boop, 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 boop. So you can see that this is putting something in there. Why is that 0? All right, so a friend of mine is going to be jumping on. I don't know if he's going to be speaking or not, probably. This is 2 servo sweeper. All right, let's see if I can call him and see if we can do this with our voice. All right. I can hear you. I don't know if I don't know if they can hear you over the internet, though. All right. Yeah, we're learning. Yeah. Well, it knows that we're that you watch this stuff. Okay. Well, let me kind of show you where we're at, because you haven't been watching yet, right? Okay, so this is basically we're trying to run. I'm trying to run 2 servo motors off of an Arduino with a proto shield on it, and it's been wired up, and I've had it running okay before. Like this is, I'll show you. I'll upload this sketch first. This is what I had at the end of the first video, and this might not even work now that I think about it. I had this at the end of the first video, and it did not work. Let me quickly make it so it will work, but okay. I could share the screen with you too if you want me to do that. And by the way, this is Chris Trees, by the way, here that I called into this. So his name's Chris. So anyway, if I upload this, let's see if it works. Oh, you didn't see it. Yeah, this is the... Okay, so I just updated that, and so now you can see that they're running, but basically one runs first and then the other one runs, and it wasn't interleaving it, right? And so I looked up on Adafruit's website, and they had some code that, here, let me go back to this. They had some code that was working pretty well. And at the beginning of this video, I had it running. And it's not far from working. There's just something weird here about why this is not accepting the, why it is not accepting it's the position data, all right? So if I hard code it here and say, you know, if the position is a greater than or equal to 180, or actually, and a position is less than 0, it's the end of the sweep and it reverses the direction, okay? And so that part there is coded in there, and let me just double check that's going to compile. Okay, it compiled, and so I'm going to go ahead and upload it.
Actually, this brings up another one that I wanted to take you through sometime, is that, especially when you get into doing more than you and kind of how the system design worked. Another subject for another time.
Sure.
But I just have a hard time reading the code, and I go, wow, if you had this pushed up to GitHub, I just jump to GitHub.
So you can see here that you can see the servos, right? They are running independently. Okay. So now, if we go back to the code, you can see here. What's that?
The independent thing is what you want, right? The 2 independent motions.
It is, but the next thing I want to do is like, for instance, these are to move puppets, right? And we want them to basically move randomly under, you know, a certain amount with a certain amount of speed, right? We kind of want to randomize that stuff. So before we can do that, we need to be able to independently say what the position is of that servo, like what's the max position of that servo and what's the minimum position of the servo, right? And so up here, I added some, basically I saw how they took increment here and update interval here. They assigned these two things, and I actually don't think we need this up here. I could be wrong about that. But they're taking interval here in, and I added position minimum and position maximum, right? And then update, they had it coded so the update interval is equal to the actual interval. And then the servo position minimum is equal to position minimum. Servo position maximum is equal to position maximum. I added commas here and a spaces. And we know that compiled fine because this was just like that. The only thing was that these were hard-coded, okay? So these variables should be initialized as public variables, right? I assume, under the sweeper.
Well, the thing is that those positions are actually, you actually want those to be a static thing, because once the program is operating, you don't really need it outdated. Just trying to figure out
Well, and
how,
yeah, and this is a,
what is your sweeper? You see, here, that's on this in the sweeper, you got two sweepers installed, right?
down here, yeah.
At the bottom, yeah, and like I said, I'm delayed with what you're figuring. But the two sweeper loops, okay, kind of set up, so you're setting up, you're calling each of those. So the processor, the base is, so it, what my brain is going through right now, the processor, it's only one processor. It's sending out signals, so it's sending out signals on the PW. I can't remember. I'm just trying to remember how all this stuff actually works.
Yeah, I think it's pulse width modulation.
Well, I know, but you're sending out signals, and does it get a return?
Because see, basically, when you're sending it to the sweeper here, like we're saying, okay, I want to instantiate a sweeper object, right? And I'm going to call it sweeper 1, and I want the interval or the increment to be 15. And on this one, I want that to be 25. So they are both unique, right? That's why they're both moving at two different speeds. Is that sweeper 1 is moving at a different speed than sweeper 2. All we want to do is take these two values here, this one and this one, and be able to make those unique as well and to be driven by values on, like, I'd prefer eventually for it not to be on instantiation, but on, throughout the process we could change it.
Just like the void, right? You got, the void is a setup, it's basically turn nothing, but it activates. So when the loop is going through this, it's doing a setup, and I'm trying to figure out, does it have enough attachment or nothing?
Yeah, these attach this to the pins, right? And then down here, the update is on the loop.
Yeah, I know, but what I was getting at is those sweeper sets, I don't see where they're in. What, with the sweeper and, I don't, I can't even remember, but it's, the two ones, going up above the void setup, those two lines,
Yeah.
what are they? Are they,
This is the instantiation of the objects, right?
so this is basic.
This is C, I see, or C++ or C sharp. I'm not sure. I can't remember. I think it's C sharp.
But it, the thing is the public up here, is there, I'm just trying to figure out what model, it seems like those are the wrong things.
it would go to a position and stop. Like right now, we set our position maximum, position minimum, position maximum is set to like 20 and 40 or 60 and 80, right? And so we could take this servo position minimum and we throw that there, and position maximum, and throw that there. That's the only places I see where there's the beginning and the end of the sweep is located.
Yeah, I know, but you're not putting those go down to where you're calling those two things. Because right now it's kind of working how you expect it, but it's not. What's the difference with hard coding?
Well, with hard coding it, they'll actually move. But if with
To me, now the thing is that these I don't understand those two sweeper things. They're not contained in anything that I can see, so I don't see how they're getting called. And then when you do the loop, which I kind of
you there,
there's the setup.
okay,
I'm here, but
okay, yeah, I can hear you.
yeah, I lost your screen. I'm back on the servo. It's you know, the when those load, something has to update the position, right? So if you're calling the modules, then they're two, you know, different threads that should run, you know, yeah, the process, it's only one processor, but it's still switching between those two threads, so there's a whole setup of variables that need to be passed, you know, it takes time and everything to get this thing. And then it has to do, what I don't understand is, you know, whatever you did with the sweeper call, you did there, and it could be just, it's either doing a more version. And then, but the other stuff kind of looks like there's a call within the class setting up the sweeper with a certain, you know, variable, but then that should be, you know, then the load function should be calling the instance of that. Because you should have instantiated two of them,
Right, yeah,
sweeper one and sweeper two. And what I think you're doing when you know, go, you know, when you're trying to do, I don't know, whatever didn't work, is that it was getting it never got initialized. So, you know, and it basically runs once and stops. Is that what it's doing?
well, I mean, see, here's the thing is I know that I could just probably change this to hold on a second here. I could take these two, hold on a second, let's prove that maybe it's a problem of them coming in. So position minimum, you have set to 0, and position maximum, you have set to 180. Or servo position min is 0, servo position max is 180. And so if I click on this thing, let's see what that does. Oh, you didn't see it.
I'm watching it. I don't know how many stream.
It's for about 30 seconds. So you can see here then that so now it's moving.
This works, right?
Well, yeah, but it's the full sweep. We're not controlling a partial sweep, or we're not controlling the input and output of it, all right? Because I just hard coded in there 0 and 180. So now, yeah, so if you go back to the code, and here's where it was supposed to pull in the unique aspect of this, that's not pulling this in from here. Maybe is that just that shouldn't be a space?
Yeah, no, they're just stopped. Think about it. Because you've got this public sweeper, so public means that it's exposed to the thing. But what I don't understand is, so you've got intervals
update interval, and we have servo position minimum, servo position maximum, and then we have increment.
So why? Yeah. So you're passing position minimum and position maximum.
Right. And the update interval is working. And so the interval is different for each of these two different objects, right? This one's 15 microseconds or whatever, and this is 25 milliseconds. Okay, so that's coming in, and the interval comes in, and the update interval is then set to interval. Now, up here, interval is not set up here. Maybe that just sounds weird, but that would be it. But maybe that's messing with it, is that it's already a variable, and it's pulling in this, and it's not pulling in this. Maybe that's it.
You got a class sweeper and then a public sweeper?
Yeah. Oop, it moved and it stopped. Unless, is it moving? I can't tell if it's moving or not. No, it's not. It reset and just stopped. But it didn't bark when I pulled these out. I pulled position minimum, position maximum out.
Got different scopes though. The public is the only thing that another program, that you're calling it. This is fine. But this way, what you're dealing with is kind of okay. Let's take it into the blender model. Are you creating a template to reuse, or are you just creating a one-off?
Yeah, it's a template to reuse. Mm-hmm.
And then, so you basically are saying, yeah, here's it all moving, but I'm not going to give you any controls for it. Or I'm not testing it. So I think that's actually, and that's just code setup and stuff like that. I'm sure that there's examples. The thing is that you're compiling the whole thing, right? Is that the only chunk of code it's pulling in? It's got to be,
Yeah.
It's got to pull in I/O and all that stuff. So there's a level.
It pulls in servo.h besides this code.
Yeah, I'm thinking that is that other chunk to the right, the screen to the right, whatever that servo
That was my first pass at it, yeah.
Well, you basically taken it from an example somewhere.
Right.
And the example probably didn't do two servos, or did do two.
It did one servo, yeah, which is why and this is an improvement, right? The only thing that's challenging about it is that we can't get the values from here to go up into the actual sweeper, then to be assigned to an internal variable within that class, to then drive its position minimum and maximum down here of the sweep.
I know, but this one you've got avoid attach and avoid detach and update. And what I'm trying to figure out is the original code, did it have an update?
Yes.
Okay. Go back to the original.
Do you want me to show you here? I'll go back to I'll go back to the code off of the website. Hold on.
The thing is each of those, it's variables being passed in, but then there's variables outside of that that you got to probably name. What I don't understand is why you're executing that
All right, so this is the code off of the Adafruit site. Where is it at? Okay. So they have, first off, they have a code for Flasher, which we didn't need, or I didn't necessarily want it. It's basically flash, flash some LEDs. And look at this. Hey, this is cool. That is exactly what I needed to see right there. And so that is passing in. So this is how we need to have this set up here. So there is a space in between those. And then LED pin is to pin long. Where does long show up again? No, on and off. So on time is set to on, off time is set to off. And over here, interval is set to update interval, and then I set POS minimum to servo position, POS maximum to servo position max. LED state is equal to low. Previous milliseconds is equal to 0. And then this is the update inside this class. Similar to
See, the thing is, if there's no, I can't remember why it's void state.
doesn't void mean that it's just not returning anything?
Yes. But, why isn't the other update void, or do you get an okay from it? As a return? I don't see it returning anything. But, yeah, see, I don't see where it, see, in your line, you call this stuff. I don't see where they call it.
They call it all down here. And look, there's a spaces. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's it. This is clear down. Let's see what that does. If it's the spaces, that'll kill me. I'd be shocked too if it was. Nope, it didn't. It moved a smidgen. Whoa. It moved twice. And then nothing. Okay. Now, it sets on time and off time here. Where does it even use on time and off time?
I don't know why it's the one. I think it'd be a fine time. Or not an
There it is. So publicly, these have been set up as a public variable, and then update can access it. And on this one over here, it can access it when they're coming in as 0 and 120 when it's hard coded.
Yeah, but you don't need it because it's a sweeper, right? I mean, you basically set it up and let it run, right?
Yeah, but not every character should move 180 degrees of movement, right? Some only need to move like 10 degrees back and forth, or 30 or 40.
No, I know, but the I'm getting at is the sweeper, the sweeper is set up to do initially is when you call sweeper, there's internal ones that's when you're starting to have to, oh, maybe it's the class itself. So the class, it's like when the class is called the constructor, so all that stuff is set up. Now the this way, put it back to the code that works. I think it's just you're trying to, you need it. I don't think the whole update thing is working. I think it's just initialization. And I think when you call update, why does the update get called? Why do you Moses Island get the sweeper? Why would it do the update? You're going to change
The update here. You mean this update here is what? Oh, there they go. This update here is basically it's not a stored procedure. What do they call it? Where it's running independently of the timeline of the device. Do you know what I'm talking about? So this update here is basically running on milliseconds, right? It's going through time. It's basically saying we're going to move through time. And as we're doing that, we're going to check that it's really time to run again, and then we will run. And we're going to increment the position of what we have here, and we're going to write the servo to this position. We're going to serial print the line of the position, and that's interesting. That probably means that we could actually also see on a serial monitor that it's actually churning out stuff. Yeah, it is. See, look at that. And that'd be cool. Is if let's actually we're going to take that out for a time being, and then just up here, when it pulls this stuff in and sets it up, we can print out here serial dot print line, and we can print this. Let's just get our eyeballs on it a little bit. You broke my brain there for a second. Okay.
What I keep trying to figure out is I'm trying to figure out, because each of those instances is called, I don't think update, you can't pass anything to update because it won't accept it. So you can't, and I don't understand what you're trying to shove into update. There's nothing that you should shove into update. There's only stuff you should shove into with the suite. So I'm confused on the motivation.
Let me actually pull this down here, and let's run these things down here. Oh yeah, I'm sure. I'm always in shotgunning mode.
No, I know, but the thing is that you're finding things out and you're discovering things, but I don't know if you're even, I think you got your ass to the bar, and you're trying to get the bar.
I think the servo's not responding right now. Let's see here. See if I'll upload now. Maybe it will.
The thing is when it was working as I would expect it, but I don't even understand what you're trying to change. See, like it's working, right? And it should work my way forever, right? I'm back on the server. that makes sense to me that it works, right? According to the code. What I don't understand is, I don't understand what you're trying to modify. And I don't understand what you're trying to re-affect. Because if you wanted to change the behavior of the sweep, you have to reload the sweep. If you want to change the behavior of the sweep interactively, I think that you have to modify a lot of the updates. It'd be easier just to basically reprogram the sweep. Does that make sense?
Maybe.
The thing is, I'm trying to, I have no clue actually what you're trying to do. Because it works exactly like what the code says, which is the sweep. I send this object to the compiled object.
Oh. Yeah. No, that is what we want to do. But we want the, oh shit. Oops, I shouldn't have swore on the thing. Oh, it's okay too. I don't know. No. Not in Arduino, not in YouTube town. Not supposed to swear. So you're making it so much better. All right, so it's just churning out zeros and 180s right now, right? Because that's the minimum and the maximum of the sweep range, right? Because the servo can move from position 0 to position 180, okay? And because it's hard-coded. We're hard-coding this. It's not pulling it from the actual class input. So if I take this down now, right. No, that's totally right. That's why it's here. This is the actual calling the sweeper. You're putting that in there, saying this is how much you're going to be able to move. And you're not going to be able to change over time. It's just that. And so now, see there, that's exactly what it's supposed to be doing. It's doing the 20, 40, 60, and 80s, right? So why? I do want that. I do want those doing that, but I want them moving. And right now, they're not moving. Well, I mean, here's the thing, is that if you change these to 0 and 180, does it work? Do they have to be the same exact stinking thing? You're right. No, I do get that. I totally get that. Okay, see now that's working because I set them to 180. Now, can I set this one to, maybe it's just too small of a sweep and it broke its thing. So 0 to 90 and 91 to 180. See if we can do that. Okay. So what it looks like is the issue is that this one's working because it goes to 0. It goes from 0 to 90, whereas this one can't start at 91, and so it doesn't know what to do. Do you follow that? Right, and so there's a 0, like here is a position 0. So yeah, now one of these should do 180 and one should go only 90. So let's look at this one.
Okay, so this is the 0 to 90 and the 0 to 180. And so one of those has twice the frequency or more. It looks like it's almost like quadruple the frequency of the other one. I don't know why that. Oh, because this increments is different. All right, so now that's starting to make sense is that basically the position minimum as it's coming in, we need to be able to tell it that, hey, it's okay that position minimum starts at whatever, or it has to start at 0. And then once it does the how. So if we look at this, last upstage milliseconds, position plus increment, servo right position. And then this is, it prints these out here. If position is greater than or equal to servo position maximum, and, is that logical and? That's not and, that's or, right? Or position is less than or equal to servo position minimum, you're at the end of the sweep and you're going to flip the increment. So this, because this is what's driving things back and forth, this position. And so for some reason when it's coming in, yeah.
So it only can deal with the things that are in constructor, which is above public. And once you call the constructor, which is the this we don't really get it, but they name the object, the class is super, and the public public interface.
All right, so this is, I just uploaded this from, this is where they both start at 10, and so they don't do anything because they're not at, they're not, yeah.
Maybe the increment, it has to be zero, I don't know how to get to, so that is okay, whatever the index is, whatever my, zero, and then there's hardware on the servo and the track bit, right? I think that's the way it is. So maybe the algorithm, has to do the output, and I don't know what it's outputting to, I guess outputting is just, what the servo thing outputs.
The COM port is the whole Arduino. That's how it sends it to the Arduino. The servo is only receiving the 2-pin and the 3-pin. It's receiving a pulse width modulation.
There's a servo with an alignment and a servo that never has one. It's like the stepper versus a servo.
Right. Yeah, these are not a stepper. They're a servo, so they receive a pulse width modulation, not the 4 different or 4 or 8 different.
Basically, I just wanted if you ever like if you do zero, you might have to have multiple of the increments. Right? So 0 times 15, 1 times 15, 2 times 15,
So you're saying that if this started at 15, it would work, and if this started at 25? A long time ago. And we weren't doing it with Arduino either. The thing that kills me is I had a whole puppet controller, and I think that I can't find the sketch for it. And it was multiple channel type of thing, and it dealt with all of these issues just beautifully. And you could send a command from the puppet controller to the servo, and it would follow along with the servo. I imagine you remember that, right?
No, I remember. Yeah, in fact, that was probably the most interesting thing I was. Because we were getting into just trying to figure out how to do sensors. And we did those plastic rings. We're going to do sensors for bigger things.
Yeah.
Same with discs, because that was just to do the LED on and offs to figure out.
So
Just like you just said, I had a puppet controller. Was it an Arduino?
it was Arduino, yeah. It was the original judged gavel. And somehow it got unhooked up and it got lost and was no longer hooked up to the gavel. And so now we're kind of like going through and trying to kind of create some of this stuff again. Yeah, no, I think that we had a loss of a RAID drive at one point, and that was a casualty of that.
Yeah, I know, which is what I was going to talk about, is that I rather, especially if you're going to do commands, and I don't know what your, if it were me and I'd be shoving it up to them. And basically, in creating a project, especially if you're going to do,
There's online versions of Arduino. We can do the online aspect of Arduino. They have a online one, but
I know that you want to do Arduino, but I would probably take it into just a whole bunch of wraps of other different controllers too. I think Arduino is very popular, just like a pot. You can do a pot too,
right.
but the point being is that if you're going to be doing this, if there's no reason to protect it from being out in the public, just use the public resources to do it, because then it's a lot easier to get more eyes on it, and people can follow along with it, blah blah blah.
But
It's easier for them to contribute.
the PDE here is this is what this software here is how you actually upload it to the device. And so if you put it on GitHub, you'd still have to copy it off of GitHub and put it in here and upload it to test it.
No, I know, but that's actually
Where in the website, you don't have to do that. Website, you can just log into it, and it does connect up.
the stuff that you lost, on your last one. I'm sure that the files that you had to modify to make it work for Judge Gavel weren't that big.
No, they weren't that big.
What I'm saying is,
It's more complex than this one by a long shot, but
no, I know, but the thing is that it got lost by the and unless it's easier just to share. That's actually what I've been doing with the Pixie guys and stuff like that. I was going to go through a whole bunch of it. That's a whole mess of stuff like that. So you're not that interested in it. But one thing that you're interested in for Grasshorse, their stuff, is the Druid stuff.
mm-hmm.
Right? And that's basically everything is open source on that, so it's available. And it's rebuilt, in the public. And one thing I was doing for them is we're trying to create I was trying to do these other guys that I know, the security guys that are to me remain nameless for now. They're interested in, basically doing attacks against, basically, automating what they call, vulnerability scans. And that has nothing to do with you other than I have to do a data, basically back-end data simulation, so I can penetrate test to try to get the data on a server. That's what I told them. Well, I'm going to use, with FreeNAS and these setup because I want to make sure that's set up anyway. point with this stuff is that, the Arduino stuff, you would have just put your, you basically, that was another one I was getting at, is that I'm getting more hits off of, like, just like little bits, that it's kind of like you're trying to find the groups of people that are going to help her that appreciate this.
Right.
And I definitely know that's actually why this stuff for sure. And as long as we're not, Arduino is big on GitHub, because it's just code for other people to look at, get to, and but I've also been working with the documentation, methods, which is read the docs, things like the first piece. And I've got more, what do you call it, shares and links off of my documentation for some of these things, that I weren't getting any interest, but because of the tools I was using, it got attraction from, people that were, doing something else, that it was kind of, but that was only through the documentation. That was because I was pushing the documentation for, blockchain stuff. But I was doing the blockchain stuff and for, public services. But this work that, so is this the one that's working with 15 to whatever, 90?
No, this one's working with 0 to 90 and 0 to 180.
So you've never gotten anything but 0?
No, not for that minimum. Like if this position is greater than, if it's greater than the maximum, or if it is less than or equal to the minimum, it's at the end of the sweep. And so I have a feeling. Oh, but wait, what's this? Servo right position. Oh. This is it right here. Duh. Position. We never specify what position is. We have position up here. Position is equal to and add the increment. So where's position before? That's the thing. Oh, sorry. Boop. So the issue we have here is that position is written for the first position, and the issue here is position is set as the increment, and it shouldn't be set as the increment. Well, it can be, but it's starting off as 0 or 1, and this is not coming from this minimum. We need, so increment is 1. Increment is 1. Can we just specify that POS is, because we have POS up here and we have increment. Can we just say, yeah, let's do that. We'll just say POS is equal to this. All right. And boop. Let's see if it works. Okay, so that broke it nicely. So position, which should have been set to 0, right? Minimum.
You're only passed in increment max min.
Yeah, passing in increment or interval, the minimum and the maximum. So there, that works now. Now the question is, if we change these to a non-zero, need to do that number. Never mind. I'm going to change it before anyone sees it. Naughty. There it is. That's it. That did it. Are you? No, that's not the increment. Here, let's go back and look at it, and I'll show you here. So here was the big problem. The big problem was is we'd get down to position plus increment down here, and position wasn't really set to anything. It just said int position up there, and so it was 0 plus equals increment, and so increment came in as 1. Well, 1 has nothing to do with anything above 1. And so if we put these whatever, that would have worked. But the issue was that we were putting something greater than 1. And so then it just didn't know where to even put it. So what I did was I took position and I set it up here so that by the time it goes into this update down here, it doesn't have to set this. It's already initialized up here. And then it's just kind of operating as a current number down here as it's going through and iterating. Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, that's what I thought you were caught in the class. Sets up memory locations for us, but you have two of these running.
Right.
And I thought you were trying to interact with updates. I couldn't see where anything could get updated because it's
No. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you there. And because essentially, I want it to basically add in maybe 2 more numbers would be the next thing to do. And so it would be like, so that we could then have position minimums like 1 and position minimum 2 or A and B. And so then you can do a rand of position minimum A and B, and then the max A and B, and then you can do a random of where it ends. And so you say roughly move from 15 to 25 to 100 to 180 over this kind of speed, and then even let the speed be a little bit random too. And so it just gives the idea that there's essentially a little bit of movement there with the things, so they don't all just look so stiff, right? I don't. That's not what I'm remembering it right now. Okay.
The reason I'm saying that is that, well, VR, but public justice is set up exactly for the remote VR. No, sorry, AR. Okay, way back when we first started public justice and we wanted that interactive intelligence, we could do it all remote, right? And the robotics, the first question I should just ask is, why robotics? Why not just, putting overlays on? Because all that movement and stuff like that, as it comes to the camera, can be done and, with tracking, with a post of the real shot.
Well, the issue is that, before one is that that'd take the most amount of time, is to go through and actually in post go through and animate all of those characters where they're located, actually in space behind people, that's then being photographed, right?
I agree.
It takes the most amount of time to do it that way, and the most amount of labor and effort.
But that's what I'm talking about. Okay, this is
It's not augmented. That you can't do that augmented reality. Not the way that we're talking about it.
not the way that you understand. Put it this way,
Okay, if you're gonna set it up that way, you have to have a digital set, and that digital set has to stay sunk with the camera, and so then you shoot the people, you have a digital set background, and you then have your puppets that are then in AR that has a set that's there just to cut off where the puppets would be behind things. And the problem is then they're going to be behind people too. And so then how are you going to composite on the fly? How are you going to composite the puppets behind the people? You follow me? I know, but no, we've been messing around with AR for 10 years, and you're not going to put it. To my knowledge, I have not seen anything where they are doing a 3D scan of the scene so that you can put the live action person cleanly on top of something that's animated in the background. And we're talking like hair cleanly, right? So you're not going to be able to put somebody with hair or any kind of fuzzy anything in front of augmented reality characters, unless you're going to throw all of that on a green screen and shoot the whole thing green screen. And then you're just going to have a digital set in the background, right? Because then the green screen's taking care of that compositing part of it. And still the green screens don't almost never look perfect. Even on, major motion pictures, people are going through and they're rotoscoping out the hair to get it just right to the best that they can. And maybe even going through and digitally re-rendering some of that stuff to make it look right. So,
the thing is, I'm going to go back to if puppet justice, what is if puppet justice is about creating, in my brain, I'll just say that.
sure.
It's creating a kind of an alternate reality to kind of bring up, it's kind of the talk about the Muppet Show, but you're trying to do it in a flavor where you can bring up different topics and kind of let those characters discuss their points of view and their determination on the film. I mean, it's
Right.
creating a new conversation about, frankly, that's the one thing I liked about, this is like yours and I think is when something is attractive to people to look at, the situation and judge it. I mean, because it somehow pulls them into the story. And plus, the production is what. But anyway, what I was trying to get at is doing all this, going through the doing things people are doing, the VR stuff and all that stuff. It's about the community, even the community on YouTube and stuff like that. It's about it. And what I kind of always get excited about, doing puppet justice. Oh, wait a minute, that could be a production. It's, I know that you did that, but what? Basically, you should go look at. They just got their release now, and so this is new stuff. So it's back in the chat thing. Yeah, we should probably talk about it after that.
Sure.
My point being is that I wasn't sure. Put it this way, if you could, I'm trying to figure out if you can. Okay, ideally, you have 20 puppeteers on the set.
No. No.
No, how many characters? How many normal characters do you?
Well, that's the whole point, is that when we're shooting the live action part of it, because the characters don't really perform in the long shots, right? When they're going to say something, we're going to cut to a close-up of them. And that will be something that could be AR, and that could be done on the fly, possibly some sort of like digital puppetry, of pre-set animation. We could do that, but if you're talking about the long shots are set up to basically be the characters are just kind of quietly sitting there. Then we cut into them quietly sitting at the beginning of the close-up. They then start to then have their interaction with each other in the close-ups or the two shots and stuff like that. And then when you cut back out, maybe all of the puppets are kind of shaking around as if they're laughing, something like that. And then it goes back to the interaction between Judge Gavel and the plaintiff and the defendant. You follow me? So when you're going to the close-ups of them, it's a digital world, or it's a digital version of the puppets. It's not the actual. It's not the cutout. It's not the cutouts. It's the Blender version of the cutouts with 2D animation overlays. Right? You follow that? Okay.
But the thing is, get back to it. So you've got, what you're finishing up now, which is background characters like Chester and Janice, right? Which
Yep.
are a 2D traditional, almost,
Like a-
traditional animatronic, right?
They're kind of like more like a shadow puppet with cartoon on top of it. If that makes any sense.
And then, you're just starting the cradle, which was a 3D, or so is Judge Gavel.
Right.
I mean, you're basically doing what you're good at, which is doing all this mixed mode stuff.
But that's just for the character introductions. That's just to idea-wise is whenever we decide that we're going to do something that's outside of the scope of the set of Puppet Justice, we're not going to go build a whole nother, we're not going to go build a forest for Chester to go hop through, right? We can't do that. And are we going to go out into an actual forest and shoot him hopping through the forest? I don't know. Or are we going to go to an animated version of Chester? I kind of like the animated version of Chester, but I don't necessarily mind going to and actually shooting the other forest too. I don't necessarily want that rule there. And so when it's not in the Puppet Justice set, we can break the rules however we feel that we can with the resources that we have so that we're not hampered by
My point is, I think that, the one thing that I'm liking about all this stuff is that you're starting to basically step outside the box, every once in it's a thing, right?
right. That it's not the rules that it always is exactly the same. It is in it is in the courtroom, but some of the characters, Judge Gavel's going to look different than the other characters, and Tequila probably will too, and the desk will probably look different. The desk does look different than the rest of the characters, right? Because it's an actual three-dimensional desk, and so all those characters, they're a little bit different than the main peanut gallery folks. And who knows, maybe Mr. and Mrs. Pillar. I'd like to get Mr. and Mrs. Pillar so they could be like the old judge, like this one here, the old Judge Da style, where maybe we can have them be ventriloquist style. I don't know. But maybe the 2D animation style on them is better. It's still better to have that better performance. I don't know. But we want to play around with it and see what people want, if we get enthusiasm about things, and follow that.
Okay, well, anyway, back to the code and Arduino stuff, I would something that you should, set up something that just pushes it out to I actually think a lot of the assets that you get, you can privatize and get help to too, that is a typical workflow and it works well for almost everybody I know.
Well, and I know that GitHub itself, well, GitHub itself, Arduino is on GitHub. But again, it's like process-wise of how you're going through and troubleshooting it, I don't know how it helps to put it on GitHub and then copy it off of there and paste it into the PDE so that you can upload it, and then you go back to GitHub and you fix it in GitHub again so that you then copy it out of there and paste it back in the PDE to, you know, where it's just a small change. You know, I understand that once you're done with that, putting it up on GitHub so that it can be shared and other people can look at it and interact with it, and then they go and they do that process, and then they put it back up on GitHub, and then you can come and open it up and copy and paste it into your PDE again and doing that. But if I'm wrong about that process, let me know. I mean, if that's not how, I mean, because the other aspect of it is you just get an Arduino account, and all of this stuff here is they have on the Arduino. They have an Arduino one as well. Let me see if I can find.
Put it this way, that embedded stuff, all that, that's easy for me to do and help with, for sure. I just, you know, but what I didn't want to do is do something that you don't use.
Well, that's the whole reason that we're doing it this way, is that we're using it already. We're using it right now, you know, and showing people our process and how we figure it out and how we get something to work. We've already used it. And do we use it more? That's cool if we do. If not, that's okay too, because it's already been used. I don't know where I'm on the Arduino page, and I'm trying to find. I haven't hardly used their online system. This is Home, Buy, Software, Online Tools, Arduino Web Editor. So you can see, like here, I'll pull this over here. This is the Arduino Web Editor, and so here are some like code things I've done in the past. And so you could, I don't know if I can share this with you. I'm sure I can. Import, new folder, sketch, you know, whatever. I don't know, can you share it? You should be able to do like a Google Docs type of thing where, you know, you're both working in it at the same time. Arduino Project Hub.
That's actually what I'm getting at, is that the GitHub stuff is actually getting easier. In fact, right now I'm doing all my documentation on GitHub. I don't even use the editor anymore. I just, because I can, and if I have to pull down the whole project, I can. It's truthfully, if, you know, I'm sure some people. Anyway,
Oh, I wasn't even showing that to you. All right, where's that? All right. So basically, yeah, you can log into here, and you can actually upload right from this. But it looks like, near as I can tell, there's no way to necessarily share that. Share sketch. And so I can make a link, copy the link, you can paste it to you or whatever. Embed your sketch in your blog or website. And my take on it is the online one is I just have to work with it more. I don't fully, I'm not 100% fluent with it yet, and it's just I've had a little bit of issues of just getting it to work quite right. So I'm sure it's not them. I'm sure it's me. But
the GitHub part of it, once you got something working, push it to GitHub so that basically you can blow everything up and restart.
Sure. All right, well, we better wrap up here. Cool. Thanks, Chris. I appreciate your help. Yep, bye. Okay. So, all right, folks, thank you for tuning in and checking this out. And we took us a little bit of sorting through and figuring it out, but we figured it out. So, anyway, I hope you like the content. If you do, be sure and share, like, and subscribe. And super cool. All right, thank you.